Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences and their expertise, and we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Hello dear viewer, dear listener, my name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Welcome to another great episode of Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. We do our best to introduce you to industry leaders and to give you life-changing business education from time to time. And I've invited an auditor and an accountant and a specialist dealing with matters of assurance, Mr. Aswin Vaidyanathan. I hope I said that name correctly.
That is right. Thank you.
Welcome to the studio. Would you be kind enough to tell the audience what you do and give them a bit of your background?
Thank you, Mr. Mogobe, and thank you for inviting me here. Happy New Year to all your audience. This is going to be an interesting year after what we've been through, and best wishes to all of you to succeed in what you do. My name is Aswin Vaidyanathan, as introduced, and I am the head of assurance for Grant Thornton. Grant Thornton is the leading audit, advisory and taxation firm in the world after the Big Four, and we provide personalized partner retention service. And that calls in for us to be an expert in what we do, because we support large, small and medium enterprises, predominantly grown with family-owned businesses, and that calls for us to be an all-rounder in the space of advisory, be it taxation, financial advice, financial reporting, assurance work, accounting, and that is where I come from. I'm a chartered accountant from India, and I'm a chartered accountant in Botswana, and I've also done information systems audit course. I'm a CISA qualified CISA professional, also to deal with information systems and cybersecurity audits.
Wow. You're from a firm that is very close to my heart. I knew it from the beginning when it was Acumen, and then it became Grant Thornton, Acumen, and now I think you've dropped Acumen, now it's Grant Thornton.
Yes.
Tell us about the brief history of the firm and how it has progressed to its current position.
Thank you. Acumen, as it started and where it is today, we still refer us, the old-timers, as Acumen people, is one of the first or the only indigenously grown firm to an international firm status in Botswana. So Mr. Rajaram, our founder member, along with his wife, who was a partner then, Mrs. Sheila Rajaram, started the business in 1976, took over in 1980, and from there it was a one office, one client setup to where we are today with more than 120 employees, having an international firm affiliation and providing all kinds of service in the financial services sector. Is a growth which need to be reckoned with. Mr. Rajaram was later joined by Mr. Verma, who was a tax specialist, a tax guru so-called in Botswana, and by Mr. Ramesh, who succeeded Mr. Rajaram as the managing partner. And currently the managing partner is Mr. Kalyanaraman Vijay. And they have just shown the way to grow in line with international standards, taking a Botswana indigenous firm to an international platform, and to provide to Botswana the service which is required.
This show prides itself in being focused on the interests of the entrepreneur, on entrepreneurship, SMEs, small, large. We often say that we're targeting aspiring and accomplished entrepreneurs. So can you help us introduce the subject of financial reporting? What is financial reporting, and what is its significance to a small business or to a business in general?
The objective of a financial reporting is to track, analyze and report your business processes. Financial reporting in general helps you to understand your resources. It helps you resources in the form of your assets, your people, or what you contribute to the social contribution, what you need to do. it also helps you with cash flow forecasting. It helps you to understand your financial health of the business. And most importantly, it gives your stakeholders the confidence of what is going on in the business. Financial reporting is primarily the storytelling of your business to yourself in order for you to improve, because all of us aspire to only grow. We don't aspire to stagnate. And also for your stakeholder or investors to gain confidence into your business to support you further.
Now, let's talk about somebody who is starting afresh, starting to open their own businesses. What systems should they put in place for them to comply with the very basics of financial reporting?
So any startup business need to be looking into the viability of what they want to aspire. Financial performance is a key indicator to that. But finance is not only financial reporting. Like I said, nowadays the olden term of accounting standards has changed and it has become financial reporting standards. If you take any financial statements, they don't talk about how much profit they did. Rather, they also talk about sensitivity of how credit is working, how foreign exchange is working on the business. There is a lot more information which comes in. And that forms the basis of what I'm going to say, the importance of financial reporting for even a small startup business or a large corporate. Financial reporting relates to how you manage your finance. How are you able to know your competitive advantage in the market? How are you able to use your resources? What is your stakeholders' interest in your business? What are your profit drivers? What is it that you have as the differentiator to capture the market? How are you managing it? And finally, how are you reporting it for the regulatory purposes or stakeholder interest? By effective process in financial reporting, as a small startup, you will never miss a chance to gain profit. Most of the times, from my experience, small businesses, they tend that they know what they're doing. They work from a single entry, that is only to know what comes into the bank and what goes out of the bank. And that is a very, very traditional approach. People have grown with that approach, nothing wrong with it, but not in modern days, because you're relying on technology, you're relying on people, and it's not a one-man show anymore which can make you succeed. Because of that, you need to know what is happening so that any deviation is identified at an early stage and you can make the corrective actions. And that is where the importance of financial reporting comes into place for a small business or even a large corporate.
Now, let's talk about effective financial reporting. You use the word effectively advisedly. It has meaning. So help the entrepreneur understand how to make it effective and how to set it up in such a way that it is really effective.
The word effective is a very important word according to me, because you can throw numbers on papers, but it should reflect what you wanted to talk to you or what the reader wants to know about you. It is very important that the communication is in line with approved standards. So in Botswana, you have the International Financial Reporting Standards to be adopted by large enterprises. Then for a medium enterprise, you have the International Financial Reporting Standards for small and medium enterprises, which is a little more relaxed, if I have to use a very common term. And then for really small businesses, you have the micro GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, which they can adopt. So these are guidance on how a financial reporting can happen for a business. By using these guidance and putting your processes to comply with it, you have won half the race of your storytelling. It should not be, like I mentioned, a single entry system anymore. And what tools you use for effective financial reporting become a key indicator. The tool could be in the form of human resource or technology. You need to have the right people who understand what you do and what they can report. And that forms the basis of it. So the first is to put a process to comply with the standard. Even a startup business need to do that. And then that should lead into an effective reporting. And monitoring, what we call as control in our language, is very key to make sure that what is presented does make sense. What is therein the process is being followed, and the effective report need to be digested and distributed properly.
You mentioned three different types of standards. Who sets these standards, and how do entrepreneurs go about ensuring that these standards are followed?
In Botswana, we have the key regulator according to the act which had come some years ago. They're called the Botswana Accountancy Oversight Authority, and they are the parent body who regulate how financial reporting need to happen in the country. So they regulate the large corporates and also large and medium enterprises beyond the threshold. And then we have the Botswana Institute of Chartered Accountants, who have their own qualification and have also been a regulatory body. And these two bodies are part of what you call the IFAC, which is the international governing body across the world for all the regulators in the accounting fraternity. And from there are standard setting bodies who set standards, and Botswana has adopted the international standards for us to follow. Many countries where we have traveled, they have their own standards in order to cope with the business environment of that particular country. But for Botswana, we have said we will follow the international standards, and there can be no exception to that. The common mistakes which we see small businesses do is sometimes, sorry to use the word, they do use the suitcase accountants and who are actually not registered with the institute for them to be regulated. And in that process, they fail to adopt the required standard for their financial reporting processes, and that should be avoided. And if they go to a registered accounting firm, then they can be rest assured that they need to comply with the standards, and they will get the best service.
And the body that regulates this, is there a body that keeps keeps a list or an up-to-date list of names of properly registered and functioning accountants that people can go to, who are responsible for policing them? For instance, with us lawyers, we have the Law Society of Botswana. Do you have such a body, and do they help? Can they help entrepreneurs in identifying people who are in good and regular standing?
Yes. The body is the Botswana Institute of Chartered Accountants. They're called BICA, fondly.
Yes.
They are at Fairgrounds, and their website has a list of all the members. Regularly, they do publish in the newspapers all the firms who are registered and have been authorized by them to operate. Annually, they take up upon them a sample of firms, and they review the firms for compliance with process, quality control and everything. And firms who don't comply with it, they are taken into disciplinary processes. Not only to provide this, even if you're employing an accountant and he says he has a qualification with an accounting background, they are supposed to be registered with BICA. Every accountant in the country is supposed to be registered with BICA. And you can cross-verify with BICA just with an email to see whether this guy is genuine with his qualification.
During these difficult times, COVID and everything, 2020 has been bad news. How does good financial reporting assist a business? Or let me just paraphrase. What do you say to those businesses which say we're saving money and that's why we settle for a briefcase accountant, so to speak, like you mentioned?
Yeah. Excellent question. Thank you so much. Because in this time, it's very relevant, and I would love to share my knowledge on this.
Yes.
The year has been really bad for some of the industry, and businesses have to really relook into what they were doing. So where financial reporting comes into play is it puts you into a position for you to understand where you stand in the first place. It tells you what is your financial health. Where is it that you can place yourself in the competitive landscape? So the first step any entrepreneur should have taken is to sit down on the table and reassess where he is, because the indicators were hard hitting on us. It didn't take a lot of time for us to realize it's going to hit us. It hit us hard. And so the actions which had to be taken financially was so important. Primarily, the first indicator was to know what is the source of finance I can get. What are the disposable assets in my hand which I can do to recover some money to keep me afloat? Where are all my money sitting? How is the best way I can collect the money? which area can I not take profit? Which area can I take cost in order for me to survive? All these information can come from the data which you already have in the form of your financial reporting, in the form of your general ledger. So effective financial reporting is to do a statement of income, a statement of your financial position. Traditionally, we used to call it the balance sheet, where we have to balance an asset and a liability.
What do we call it now?
Or we call it the statement of financial position.
Okay.
So all those traditional terms are changed. In order for us to say that a financial statement is not just a paper to show to the bank or the taxman, it is to tell a story for yourself. And this time, this is what was going to help the businesses. Because by reading where you have the leverage, you will be able to place yourself. It would have taken a quick decision for you to change the way you operate. Cut down on your cost. It was very easy if you have good reporting to identify where were you spending more. Not reducing people is an answer. Reducing other
Everybody
expenditure.
thinks of entrenching.
Absolutely. And when we look at it, except the service industry, any other industry, the salary cost is not the major component. The other expenses are there, which are major components. Probably it affects the entrepreneur on his lifestyle, but those are the decisions which you will be able to take very effectively if you have a good reporting system. Small businesses, this is what they must have done. They are expected to be on the table with their reports. Identify the data to say where is finance possible. Identify what are the changes in the regulatory framework which is happening, which can help their business. Go out to see how to utilize their resources, because you have talent in you. Probably you're using them the wrong way. The work of 3 people can actually be done by 1. It's a redesigning your processes in a way that you get money's worth. You were just seeing money in the bank and you didn't bother about it. But now it's the time to relook into it, to really see this number talks too big to me. Can I amend it? And most importantly, governance. Because at the time when we look into governance, effective governance, it is a better practice than a healthy recovery. So if you put governance in place during this time, where you can be strict in your processes and control your expenses, it can lead you to a smooth business rather than saying, I'm affected, how do I recover from here? And that is what I would think would have been the best way, being resilient in this time and to go ahead in surviving.
I want to ask you a 2-part question on tax. The first part is how financial reporting helps insofar as the tax element, and then obviously the second part of the question is beyond taxation, how financial reporting assists.
Thank you for that question, because most of the people, especially young entrepreneurs, think if I report everything, I need to pay more tax, and that's not something I want. Paying tax is not a bad habit, if I have to put it that way. One, that is your social commitment. Okay, so if we have to say, I will spend so much in helping the needy, first, comply with the law, pay your tax, and the system will help the needy in any case. And it's important for you to identify that tax is a social commitment you need to make. It is law. It's like breaking a signal. It's okay. It's not okay. It's a law. You should not break the signal. Same way you should not avoid tax or evade tax. And good financial reporting will help you in making sure that you are paying tax what is required. Inappropriate financial reporting can lead you to pay extra tax in the form of interest and penalties. Many people cry at a later date to say, my God, I should have just paid it then. If you're expected to pay more than 50,000 pula tax, you're supposed to pay quarterly installment. People don't take it seriously because they don't have the information in their hand. And good reporting will give you that information, will make sure that you identify, if I pay my 20% now, I don't need to pay interest at 2.5% later.
That's very punitive.
And it is very important because just throwing money in the form of interest, it can be avoided if you are a proper law-abiding citizen. And for that, financial reporting or any kind of information, we call it management information system, is going to help you in identifying timeliness
Yeah.
in paying taxes.
It can also help you avoid paying unnecessary tax, because tax evasion is illegal, but tax avoidance is legal. Am I right?
Absolutely. And good processes in your business and effective reporting will give you the confidence to take advantage of all the provisions in the Act in order to save tax, not to evade tax.
It is a perception that a business can negotiate with a bank using skill. People think that people can talk their way through, but I think your argument is that it's the numbers that negotiate with the bank. It's not you. It's not the business.
Exactly.
So can you help the viewer understand how financial reporting even helps in terms of growing the business and giving the confidence to the bankers to be able to give you money?
Yes. And also to touch upon the second part of the question, to say how does financial reporting help not only in tax but also with regards to growth.
Yes.
It's both questions could have the same answer, that the bankers look upon your business first from the paper, right? So you could be having a great relationship with a person, but beyond that, that person has to go through the processes in the bank. And it's not him who signs on the paper. There's a whole process which needs to happen. So it is your papers which talk to the first person who can pass it to the next desk. And by just looking at your financial statements, a banker is trained enough to identify analytically whether you're talking sense, right? So if your gross profit margins don't relate to the kind of business you do, if your working capital on the financials doesn't make any sense, doesn't have 1.33 to 1, a normal standard ratio, then any story you try to tell is not going to be selling, right? I'm not saying that bad businesses can never, not bad businesses, bad financial performance cannot be able to get banking finance. I'm not saying that. But it should be in a way that it is genuine to say where you are, and then your projections can talk from where you're leaving to say where you want to grow. And for that, compliance with the standards in preparing your historical financials and complying with prudent accounting practices in preparing your forecasts is the key. And so when such documents are given to the bank, it makes their life easy in order to ask the relevant question, assess you, and in a position to give you the benefit that you can actually even negotiate a better cost for the finance if your information is right. And you can prove to them that the track record of the process in your business will give them the comfort that what they see on paper is the reality, what's happening, and their money is in safe hands.
But speaking to a new business person out there, young entrepreneur, what are the key considerations or the key points that you think should be included on that financial reporting to make themselves most attractive and most desirable for banking purposes, for a banker to say, I'm going to lend him money? What are the key things they have to have in that package, so to speak?
So the first I would start personally, my opinion is the attitude of the person to tell to the bank that I need your help for me to grow. It's not that I need your help to improve my lifestyle, right? So the key aspect which has to come is that the story of what he wants to communicate, what they want to do, has to be very clear. And truthfully so, what the history has been. So good background with the financials is going to tell that story to the bank. And that can be supported with the transactions of what they intend to do. Secondly, the forecast has to be genuine by documenting all the estimates they have done in putting in the forecast. Showing a huge, like we're part of the angel network, and sometimes the pictures come with abnormal dream of numbers to say that in 2 years they'll make 20 million profit. Sometimes like we laugh over it, and we've seen it, and that should be avoided. There has to be a financial prudence. And I'm not saying that every entrepreneur will have that, because they are an expert in what they do. If you're taking a doctor who wants to take up a medical project, you can't expect that you would have every financial knowledge, and that's where he has to take the support of professional services. That can tell the story with confidence to say that, yes, now this guy is serious. He's taken the help of financial services. They put up something which talks with relation to numbers, assumptions, the practicality on the ground, and how their resources will be able to satisfy all the numbers which are coming through.
That's well explained. And you mentioned in passing that me and you belong to Angel Network Botswana, and I'm sure the viewer is curious. Can you take a minute or two to explain what that is about and what we actually do at Angel Network Botswana?
Excellent. Angel Network Botswana is a young organization in Botswana, but then Angels is a very well-known concept across the world, whereby interested investors want to support startup businesses in a way that they want to give confidence based on a concept, rather on the concept and the ability of the individual to fund them as a seed capital to start their business and to prosper in it. It's not only money, they fund knowledge, experience, expertise and support through their networks to see whether that business can be successful in. Angel Network Botswana has been started with a few individuals in the country. It's a steering committee and we do have members who are joining in. We are about an year old and we look forward to make a big impact in the young entrepreneur group of this country in making them successful and to contribute to the economic growth of Botswana.
Well explained. Thank you very much. Amen to that. Let's talk about digital evolution. Everybody's talking about, you know, the digital 4IM, you know, fourth industrial revolution, 4IR. So how has this affected, you know, financial reporting?
Great. Digitization is the way to go, and one of the recovery aspects which I talked about was also to say it's good to invest in digital in order to have a stability for the future, because with the kind of digital tools we have today, a lot of processes can be digitized in order to give you comfort that your reporting is indeed appropriate. So even for startup businesses, they would say the traditional writing accounts in a book is the good way to go. Yes, no doubt. But today's world, you have cloud accounting. There are various platforms in today's world where it's not at all expensive. At just $100 license fee, you can get a cloud accounting, whereby anywhere you're traveling, your accounts or your transactions or your data can be analyzed from your smartphone. It's as easy that even if I'm having a drink for business development, I can just scan the invoice and the computer, which is programmed, can read that invoice and do your accounting for yourself.
So automatically filed.
Automatically files and accounts. It takes it to the respective accounts, and that is the growth we are seeing in the digital world today. If young people really, if I have to put it that way, young people are so much attached in their day-to-day lives to the digital, and it is be very wrong for them to think about old ways of doing when they come into business. So they must absorb that digitally they can achieve a lot. They know everything, they live on the screen, and it will be very useful that they use that in order to improve and put processes in place. The accounting systems today are very, very robust. It helps you to even identify your production level, your stock reordering level, and the cost of all those which used to be used only by big organizations has just come down drastically, that even a startup can afford to put money into digitizing their operations and to make use of it.
And does your company, Acumen Thornton, help? You mentioned cloud accounting. Do they help entrepreneurs in identifying the right software and so on for their businesses?
Yes, we have been sort of the first in the country to propagate cloud accounting. We have a dedicated outsourcing team under the leadership of Mr. Kwashi, who's a citizen of the country, who is an expert in a cloud accounting platform called Desero. It's an Australian-based platform. Desero. And that has been very successful for even not small companies, even large organizations, because now we don't need to technically go to the office to present a financial. The entrepreneur can at any time from his laptop or the phone check how the business is doing. And it has brought in a lot of efficiencies in decision making, timeliness of decision making, and it is being well accepted.
And
we
it's very
support-
relevant during this time of COVID. isn't it?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
with where even face-to-face meetings are not happening regularly, and everybody's getting comfortable meeting with somebody from their night suits, reporting also need to get to the same space, and we are fully propagating and promoting cloud accounting in Botswana.
Yeah, the next part of the question is the trends on cloud accounting. And I'm obviously, in the interest of full disclosure, a little biased because I'm in the real estate space. How would you help companies in real estate or even in a restaurant setup? What is it? What are the trends, and how can one align themselves with those trends?
See, the trends which are coming up, like I have mentioned, is in a cloud accounting space or
Yeah.
any other reporting space, are customized applications for each industry. So it's no longer a one package fits all equation which the developers are coming with. So if it is real estate, the package is designed in order for you to understand the timeliness of raising your invoice, the timeliness of your customer not paying, even automatically charging interest based on your lease terms. Real estate, big real estate corporations are hugely affected in a way that they had to give a lease discount during this period.
Yes.
Now, if you are on this package, it is very easy with the click of a button to set that format that you're not missing out on collecting the appropriate rentals or following up, or to even identify what is the discount which is possible so that your targeted bottom line is not getting affected. And that is what this cloud accounting can do. The current computerization of workload is very specific, and you can demand what is required of it. And even in a restaurant setup, the data analytics, it's a very common word used, sometimes very wrongly used, is a very, very important tool which can use. So these packages will be able to produce a lot of data for you, right from which bottle in your bar is giving you the best income. And you will be able to, just at a click of a button, analyze your data. And that's why I'm saying that it's very important that you focus giving in digitization priority as much as you would give priority to set up a process in your business. Because the information which can actually give you profits. There is an old saying, you don't make profit from selling, you actually make profit from buying. And this data will be able to help you analyze that there is no need for you to put your money on a stock which is not going to be moving. Rather put it on a stock which is going to be moving, not from your mind, but from what the statistics say.
You don't make money from selling, you make money from buying. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Break that down for me.
It's
Make it simpler.
to make it simpler, your negotiation power when you buy is very critical for you to get that extra margin. Okay. It is very easy to say, I can go across the road to the wholesale and buy. But then if you are very conscious of buying, if there is a 1% price difference in another place, or if you're buying with a quantity which can give you the benefit of negotiating 1%, that 1% makes a difference in your gross margin.
It does.
Okay, your selling price need not change, but that 1% will be into your pocket.
Makes a huge difference.
It makes a big difference. So when you're doing volume, buying is what gives you the power to have the profit, because you know you will sell, because you're buying to sell.
Yes.
And your data is going to tell you that you can sell. And if your pricing is right, it gives you the leverage to go down on the market against your competitors. That's why when we've started the discussion, I said you have to identify your landscape, your competitive landscape. And for that, buying power is what dictates what you can sell and how competitive you can be in the market.
Okay. Botswana has recently been blacklisted, or there was a threat of blacklisting in the EU. So the issue of cybersecurity is very relevant. First of all, tell us the status of the country on that issue of blacklisting, and address the question of cybersecurity in general.
So blacklisting is really an issue which the government is really fighting very hard with. They have changed the regulations to the Financial Intelligence Act for compliance, and a lot of governance is happening in that aspect. So to say, every business in this country needs to have an anti-money laundering policy, a process, employees need to be trained, and we need to make sure that we try and avoid as much as possible cash transactions, or we should know the source of that cash before accepting a cash transaction. And there is a
in
very
other words, you should push all your transaction online or checks.
online, or it should be in a way that you can trace. That is, the person should be in a position to tell you where it's coming from. So it's very important that you know your client, you know your customer, and AML processes talk about how you can know your customer and
AML processes?
Anti-money laundering processes.
Yes, yes.
That is the main thing which is affecting the blacklisting.
Yes.
And from Grant Thornton, again, we are providing that service to many businesses to set up the AML processes in their companies. Why it is important? Because only by then you will be able to flag to financial intelligence agency any suspicious transaction, and they will be in a position to act on it to see whether really this transaction flow is coming from any illegal activities identified in the act. And for that, it is very important that there must be a process. Once this is established across the country, the blacklisting will disappear.
It breaks my heart that we've done so well as a country, and we're even included in the list of countries that are blacklisted. So, how did we allow it to get to that point, and how do we get out of it?
So the main reason why we got into the point is when they came to review us, they did not see effective monitoring practices in place. And now a lot of monitoring practices have been put. Every organization or a regulatory body which deals with a particular set of industry have been given the mandate to make sure that the anti-money laundering policies are put in place. Like the Law Society is in charge for the lawyers to be putting the Botswana Institute of Chartered Accountants is in charge for all the auditors and accounting and financial service providers to put it in place. So like that, everybody has been designated the monitoring capability. Once effectiveness of monitoring is shown, and the next review when they do, they see that indeed the policy is a practice, then it will disappear. So if you want to open a bank account anywhere outside of Botswana, you cannot get away from your KYC forms. You can shout at the bank manager, but he can't open anything in the system.
The KYC thing is a bit distorted because they want the same information every year.
And this is
why is that? They keep losing the same information. Sometimes I say, but I gave you this a year ago. Why do you need it again?
Exactly. And that is what this act and the law is talking about. To say that within the last time to the current time, there could have been a change in you. Okay. Probably your name got blacklisted by the UN. So they wouldn't know that. You could be operating on a different passport, you could be operating on a different nationality. There could be a change which has happened in you. And so it is important that a process is there to identify who they are dealing with. Where you are, have you changed your country? Have you changed your profession? A lot can happen. And that is why even though it's frustrating, we don't have a choice. We have to implement it. And going forward as individuals, we have to accept that my set is ready. At the click of a button, my KYC can go to anybody. And that's where we are heading into.
Does it affect small businesses also? And if so, how?
Every business will be affected as long as you're dealing with cash and your customers are going to be dealing with cash. Your business is going to be affected with that.
So can I ask you to make a prediction when we'll get out of the blacklisting hole?
For sure, if the monitoring processes continues the way it is happening, this year we should be able to go. That's my estimate on that. And to talk about what you asked about cybersecurity, it is very key. Cybersecurity is nothing but the processes and the human intervention and the tools you use to protect your digital assets. And with the COVID-19, we have seen the most busy people in the world are the hackers. And they have just really...
Hackers are the busiest people.
They are the busiest people. And they have got their, their bonuses because all of us started relying so much on the binary digits of 1 and 0 behind our laptops. And writing a program is what dictates, the old terminology to say it's garbage in, garbage out is what a computer is. So we don't know what is the background process, and these hackers exactly know where are the loopholes. What can be done? Small businesses need to take this seriously because one impact what happens on because of a cyber attack can actually change the whole way you have planned. No. And when we travel across the world for reviews or to see what happens in other part of the world, I feel that we are in heaven because in Botswana we haven't seen that kind of an attack. And of late, I have been listening to various stories in Botswana of cyber attacks happening.
Really?
A lot. And people trying to induce you to click on emails, send you money, and digital currency, sort of stopping your whole server from operating. Even some large companies have got affected because of these hackers, that they had to really spend a lot of money on changing the servers in order to even start operations because they got hacked.
And there's the story of FireEye. You want to talk about that one?
Oh, no, let's. The FireEye, or the current hacking which is happening in the world, which is sort of got hidden behind the COVID story.
FireEye is what? Is a company or is it a group of hackers?
It was a group of hackers, and they had targeted big organizations who were cybersecurity organizations. They actually broke into the security tools, took a lot of the security tools, and started using them to hack beyond what we can think about. Like I said, as we are talking today, there is a huge hack going around the world. Some of the biggest names, organizations have been hacked. Sometime last year, we even saw some government organizations getting hacked, and blame was going around country to country to say, you are the one who's doing it for my country. There's a fear of war. It has led to such a state that these cyber attacks are defining how our economy or political leaders could take decisions. And if we have to talk it from a small business point of view, we can just see the impact if it can affect a country which is supposedly so secure. And if you don't give importance to your security on your digital asset, what can happen to you? So it's very important for every business to take care of cybersecurity, to implement tools in place and not think it as a cost, an unnecessary cost. It is a necessary operational expense.
And in Botswana, is there something similar to FireEye that has occurred?
Nothing which has come out in the open, which we can market and make them big. But yes, there has been a lot of penetrations which has been happening in the Botswana digital space. Yes.
Okay. Is this somehow tied to the issue of dark money? I've had concerns that there's dark money and that Botswana may be taken advantage of somehow.
Botswana was seen because of a lack of some of the acts to be an easy spot in the earlier days in order to bring in and take out money. But all those have been closed down, at least in the last 4 years, where we have issued a lot of acts, including Data Protection Act, Electronic Evidence Protection Act. There is a lot of acts which have come into place, which sort of gives us a good security, a guard against all this. Yes.
You say Microsoft has come up with something to help us in this area, new alarm system. Tell us about that.
See, there are not just Microsoft. There are a lot of companies which are there in order to help us in the space, and also to use their products for business intelligence. Okay, Microsoft platform is there. There's Tableau. There is a lot of products which are there.
Yeah.
And these are business intelligence tools which can actually trigger to the entrepreneur based on the controls and process put into the system.
Yeah.
In order to warn you of what is happening and when action need to be initiated. Business intelligence, artificial intelligence are a topic to discuss separately. We can talk about it for days.
Yeah.
But in crux, it is a lot of the companies have come on board to capitalize on the situation in order to provide a lot of security measures that just a PC which you buy from the store. If you have the right software, a licensed software, and if you are open to updates from Microsoft or Apple, whichever operating system you're using, they protect you as long as you're using a licensed software.
And you say our cell phones have not been spared either.
Oh yeah, that has been the hot target of late, because we don't bother about installing any antivirus tools or tools to identify if a malware has been put into your phone.
Yeah.
We always on the phone click on what is available for free. Even an application which is very useful to you, if they ask you to pay $1, you don't want that, and you look for the second best alternate of what is free. And
Yeah.
anything for free comes at a cost.
Okay.
I truly believe in it.
That's true.
So it is the hotspot for hackers to get into. And
Yeah.
because a phone is linked literally to everything in your life, including your hard-earned money. If they have access to your phone through a malware is a software which can sit on your phone and transmit information from your phone to the person of whatever he wants to see. He can actually even switch on your video and literally see you in whatever you're doing. Very dangerous for
It's called malware.
A malware.
Yeah, like.
It just sits on your phone and literally gives the whole control of your phone to a person. He could be sitting next to you in the airport or any other place in a restaurant, and is seeing everything of what you're doing. So when you're typing a password, he can actually see the keystrokes. So if you don't have enough protection on your phone, you could be exposed.
Okay. I want us to take the discussion back to financial reporting more directly. And I want you, if you can, having been in Botswana, 22 years?
Yes.
To give examples of companies that have taken, without mentioning names obviously, taken advantage of financial reporting and what the outcome was compared to companies that have not taken advantage of these tools and what the outcome has been. Because sometimes it helps the entrepreneur if you can practicalize examples for them to understand issue of financial reporting.
Thank you for that question. Like you said, I've been in Botswana for 22 years, and I started my work in Selibe Pikwe,
Yes.
a small mining town. A lot of startup, small businesses were there, and it is very, very relevant to say that people who had good governance in their mind and who were serious about financial reporting have indeed grown big. They have grown in this country in front of my eyes to a single grocery store into a huge supermarket chain, or a small one property owner into a portfolio of properties, or a small, actually a very small tuck shop which could really make millions by expanding their businesses into various ideas which the entrepreneur had. There is no stop to it. And Botswana is no exception. I really take offense when people say there's nothing to do in Botswana, because to me, Botswana is not just the boundaries of Botswana. You have the bigger advantage of being in a SADC region. Actually, your market is extended. There are so many tools like forming an IFSC company or anything to get a tax benefit or a benefit of operating across the borders. And your market is not just Botswana. And there are companies, like from Grant Thornton, we started our Private Business Growth Awards 5 years ago. And that awards
Tell the
has
listener about
really shown us companies which some of the attendees didn't even know that these kind of operations exist in Botswana. They think everything comes only from South Africa. And when we projected the winners, actually in that event we project the top 3, we take a video of what they do, and the audience are really baffled at times to say, where is this place in Botswana? Does these machines exist here? Is this kind of operation ever operating in Botswana? And
Large
really,
manufacturers,
large
distributors,
manufacturers,
and so on.
even service industry. And there is, last year or year before, there was a fantastic young Motswana who showcased his software of how he helps agriculture by using the old model phones, by partnering with cell phone companies, and how he is so successful. A great story to be told in Botswana. And we are very happy that we are able to partner with them. We have provided services, and over the time of where Acumen grew to Grant Thornton, there are a lot of family-owned businesses which were in startup are really large corporates today.
Okay. And on the negative side of the ledger, those who didn't take advantage?
Those who didn't take advantage, predominantly they have not been successful because they could not get access to finance the time they need, and they got stagnated. Okay, they thought by not doing good reporting, by saving on taxes, they were saving money, but they failed to realize that when they wanted to actually move out, sell, they did not get value for their business. The buyer actually did a bargain purchase, because the value of that business was far higher than what the paper showed, and they did not have the negotiating capacity
because they didn't have the numbers properly done.
And they can't prove what was not there. And the buyer is not going to budge on it. He's going to say, well, fine, you can tell all this, but I don't see this. There's no negotiation. There's no negotiation happening on the table. And that is a big loss. When you do succession planning, you lose. Or at the time when you've grown big and you want to go into the Botswana Stock Exchange, that's something which we are telling a lot of large enterprises. Think about that. That is your succession plan. You've grown so big, it is time for others to come in, get more funding, grow more. And for you to go to the stock exchange, you need good reporting, which is complied with standards, which is done by professional people. And with that power, you will be able to go to the market, prove to your investors that you are a reputable company, you do everything with ethics, and you will be in a position to tell them your company's real story and not a fabricated story. And it is very important, and you can get the advantage of it with good financial reporting.
You mentioned in passing the Grand Thornton Awards, which I've seen in financial press in the past. I think this is the right time for you to make a bit of a shameless plug and tell the entrepreneur about them, and see if some of them can participate in the awards next time.
Mr. Mogobe, I really thank you for raising this. And to the viewers, Grand Thornton started as a part of a corporate social responsibility to honor private businesses in the country. Botswana predominantly was a private business run country, and there was no platform where the good job of the private sector was getting identified and acknowledged, and to motivate other businesses who are private entrepreneurs to say that there is no limitation to grow because they are big businesses. So we wanted to showcase that. And in the first year, we started with only about 15 applications. And in the fifth year, we reached across the whole country, and we had more than 100 applicants applying for the Private Business Growth Awards. There are two categories, large and medium scale, and small industries. As the years grew, we also partnered with BITC, and we became a part of the Global Expo, because BITC has the responsibility to make sure that export generation and foreign direct investment comes into the country, and private sector plays a very important role. And then we expanded that with awards of the BITC registered companies who are performing fantastic. And in this whole journey for 5 years, we have had the full support of Business Botswana. They have been with us in this journey, and they support us by giving their member database, inducing their members to participate. And the biggest advantage which we as Grand Thornton has given to the participants is the application form, and we are very proud about it. Because the application form asks leading questions which are very fundamental for a successful business. And the feedback from the first year what we have got is, frankly, I don't bother whether I win this award, but completing this form has actually made me think of areas where I can improve.
It mentions things like what?
There are 5 sections in which we concentrate, because based on it is where you're marked. The last is finance. So it talks about how innovative you have been, how you have invested in your people. It talks about your financial performance. It talks about your corporate social responsibility of what you have done as your company. So based on all these criteria is where you are marked. And when you think about what you have done, you actually open up to yourself to say, I have done so much, but I have never marketed it. Or really, I think I can do more, and I have not done it for your people or for the community at large. So it is the feedback which we have got is that form is a gift for self-assessment. And I would like many of you viewers who are businessmen in the country, small, medium, large, as long as you are privately owned and you don't have any listed entity or a government who is an investor in you, you can apply for the awards. There is no other condition to apply. And the prize money is obviously a prestigious award, name recognition, and we will market your company for the whole year in all what we do as Grant Thornton as Private Business Growth Awards.
If you're in the top 3 or if you win?
Even if you're in the top 3, because we
Okay.
give you a customized digital signature which
Yeah.
you can affix to your company's digital signature to say that you were a finalist in the awards as well.
Okay.
And for the winners, they also get a full year free subscription from Business Botswana and recognition to use the Botswana tourism logo as a
Wow.
gift from BITZ as your in your company brochures.
You'll give us the contact details at the end.
Yes.
At the end of this conversation.
Yes.
We're getting to a point where you get to ask me a question. Any question that pops into your head?
Exactly.
So go
It'll
ahead.
be great
Mm.
considering your background and your experience to say what would be that one important point you think which is stopping young businessmen from becoming successful.
It's a tough question. I think, what sets apart the successful from the unsuccessful generally is the one aspect of resilience, the failure to persist and to keep asking questions and to keep seeking knowledge. I find that, I do mentor a few youngsters, and we are actually setting up a formal mentorship program for our company. And what I have really found is that if the resilience muscle is not sufficiently developed, that is an indicator for failure. So if there is one thing that I believe is the key.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And
Yeah.
I would just like to add that if the young entrepreneurs want to go to Grant Thornton's website, we have a publication called the Resilience Wheel.
Resilience what?
Resilience Wheel, which we did during the time of COVID to help people to be resilient and to fight. It's a free download,
Yes.
and there is also a free cash flow projection tool which is there on the website.
Wow.
If they go to Grant Thornton website, you could recommend them,
Yes.
and it will be a good tool
Yes.
for them to look into getting resilient and to fight
No,
what
well,
they
I'll
are
definitely-
challenging them.
I'll
And to
definitely have
thank you
access
for
to
the
it.
tip, because
Yeah.
it also gives me an idea when I'm talking to people to
Yeah.
induce them
Yes.
with resilience and to
Yeah,
motivate them.
Absolutely. Here's a chance to talk to the viewer. I think that's your camera there. To just leave them with one message, one powerful motivational message that would be a takeaway from this conversation.
Dear viewers, please do not shy away to tell your story in any form. Today I've been talking about financial reporting. It is very important for you to analyze what you do. Your data is what is going to feed you more profits. So make sure that you are able to put processes in place. Make sure that the reporting is happening. You are able to monitor and analyze your reports, and you can make the best use of it, because like I was telling, the data is your tool, the knowledge is your power and your wealth in the coming days. Thank you very much.
All right. Now this is your chance to share your contact details. We need all your details from Acumen and from everywhere else. I have your card, but I think it's easier for you to read from it and share with the viewer.
Thank you. So Grant Thornton is situated at Fairgrounds. Grant Thornton is a firm of auditors, accountants, and tax specialists. We also provide outsourcing services like payroll services, and we also support with cloud accounting. We also have a very big, one of the largest company secretarial practice in the country, and we provide a lot of corporate governance work with regards to compliance with the King's Code as well. Our advisory division has a lot of services to offer, right from internal audit, transaction advisory, mergers and acquisitions, liquidations, and also judicial management. We can be contacted at 3952-313 or at info@bw.gt.com. I would recommend you to please visit our website www.grantthornton.co.bw, and all the information of what I spoke, plus various tools to support youngsters in their business ambition, are available for you to make use of. Thank you very much.
It remains for me to thank you once again for coming, taking the time out. I know how busy you are, and generously opening up and sharing so much information. Thank you very much for
Thank you
coming.
so much.
Thank you.